Someone said, hot take, drums are the easiest instrument to get to a professional level of mastery. Wow. In YouTube chat. The reality is most professional musicians are not usually that great at playing their instrument if you're talking about like popular music, because what is difficult to play isn't always what sounds good, and what sounds good isn't always what's difficult to play. This is true of drums, guitar, background guitar, bass, or whatever. The light is too bright on my this and not bright enough on me. I just noticed this. I redid all my lights a while ago because I had to remap everything. I'll change that after stream. I want to for a moment, okay? This is my process, all right? It's undefeated. I want to do something, so I look for a thing, but I don't know what to look for, okay? And then you say, bring in a professional, and he'll tell you what to get. And then I get what they tell me to get. It doesn't work for some reason. Then I have to do more reading to figure out why it didn't work. And then I get what I actually need. I hate all of you so much. For the 7 of you in chat that give a fuck about anything relating to this, and it will be like literally 7 of you. PoE or PoE++ or PoE+++ are not just designating different wattages for cameras or different wattages at the ports here. It's designating like different communication standards as well. Even if you have the wattage on a PoE++ port, that does not mean it can communicate with a device that is wired for class 4 or PoE++ power over internet. Destiny, it's because you're a know-it-all except when it comes to troubleshooting. I'm generally pretty humble when it comes to my shit. I know what I know, though, and I generally know what I don't know. But I will say I've had multiple professionals come in and recommend me shit because people are like, listen to these guys, and then it ends up not working at all, okay? This right here is not compatible with my Blackmagic cameras. The correct question, and I only know this now because I had to stay up all fucking night yesterday to find out how many of my devices won't work. The only reason I know this now is because these cameras, it's not about the wattage. It's that they need a type 4, which means, it's not, I said class 4, it's type 4, meaning class 7 or 8 power over Ethernet connection. The wattage was not the important part. You need enough wattage, but it's this standard. This switch does not provide, okay, power for this camera, all right? Fuck you. So power over Ethernet is not working for these cameras. Fuck all that shit. There are switches that do this, like type 4 shit, but it's way too expensive. It's not worth it. Fuck all this bullshit. So I'm just using power cables because fuck everything relating to this PoE idea. Okay. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. No, that's it. That was the only. Are you mad? No, because now I know what I need. Now I have it all figured out now. I got everything working today. I got this stupid fucking switcher working. I hate these A10 boards. I don't hate them. It's just stupid. They're very like not user friendly. Or some of the Blackmagic, like the software is easy to use, but just sometimes like if you have it plugged in, you've got to find these like esoteric settings sometimes in the menus to make them recognize, and there's no like software indication or anything letting you know if like something is working or not working. You just have to, it's just black until you figure out what's going on. 1, 2, the hello. But I have the switcher working. All 3 cameras work. My audio interface works. The interface doesn't have a built-in compressor though. I don't know if that's going to matter with a pair of SM58s. I'm hoping. I'll probably have to test it. I'll probably go there. No, I can't download that and do it on the spot. How would I don't know how I would test this. No, I do need one because it would fix the people not having their face near the mic and everything. What did the guy say who convinced you that the original stuff would work? Just a lot of bullshit. Get a class 4 PoE injector. I don't even know what that does, and I don't even know if that would help me. And it won't help me do video either. So I would have to get 3 different class 4 injectors just to have power. Like, it's not, what's the point of that? I might as well just like plug in a power cord, right?
Oh, hey.
Speaking of funny information, guess who must not watch? Oh, this was just Taylor Lorenz chats with me sometimes. That's who this is about. And then I wrote her on stream a month later, I think. Which I thought was funny. Do you prefer us to watch you on Kick, given you demonetization on YouTube? Yes. It's a lot better for me, actually. A bunch of us on YouTube chat were telling you what they suggested was overkill and gave you a simpler option. No. It's not that it was overkill. It's that it wouldn't work. Have you tested your setup with DHCP or with static IPs? No. It's not about that. It's about getting fucked in the ass. How much are the Type 4 compatible ones? I'm curious because you called them too expensive. I don't think I ever called them too expensive. The issue is it seems like these things are only sold like in fucking racks. Like I would need like a huge fucking device for this. What audio interface do you use? I have a Babyface Pro FS or whatever, but it doesn't have an onboard compressor, which is annoying. I could probably do it in software and OBS though. Do you get the same money from Kick embed watchers as you do Kick website watchers? I don't know if they have a difference between the embed and the site itself. You also have better emotes on Kick because I can't put any in my YouTube chat for members now. Rip. How do other streamers do this? Surely there isn't some unique. How often do other streamers live stream events and stuff? I don't know. For like stationary cameras and shit. I'm sure there are people that do it. But the problem is that generally usually those people will just rent out like an entire professional crew. And for whatever reason on our upcoming Pangberg stuff, we don't have a professional camera crew for this. That's an expensive audio interface. You have to have compression. Did you check the software for it? It doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Is the demonetization permanent? I don't know. Hopefully not. But they said, I think you can reapply in like 3 months. So, how are you getting internet on the PC? I don't know. I'll either do a hotspot on the phone or I'll just plug in an Ethernet port on the back.
Everyone wants that trendy haircut with long hair.
Okay. What is this? We're watching this. It better be good.
A few months ago, I came up with
A bunch of us in YouTube chat were saying that night it was all overkill. We suggested YOLO, live, laptop, and the problem is you guys are suggesting these like all-in-one solutions, and I don't know like if they're compatible with my cameras. I don't know how to operate these. Like I have no like these are huge devices that I'm guessing would probably require some amount of like training or experience. Like I've never used any of these before. I don't even know like I just have no, like, I'm never going to buy a crazy fucking all-in-one kit to, like, for an event that I have in 4 days.
A hypothetical sci-fi scenario that gained a decent amount of traction online. Actually, even John Carmack, the creator of Doom, weighed in and shared some of his opinions on the scenario. So the simulation was, what would happen if humans forgot how to make CPUs? What hardware would stand the test of time? Or what computers would be the first to degrade? Now, this isn't really that crazy of a scenario. When a
So you buy 15 different incorrect components that need assembling in some whatever chain instead. What? My chain right now is pretty simple. I have 3 cameras connected to my ATEM Mini. The ATEM goes to the computer. Then I have 2 mics connected to, so that's my video interface. Then I have 2 mics connected to an audio interface. The audio interface goes to the computer. Then all that goes to OBS. Every device does what it's supposed to do, and that's it. Having some crazy, huge, fucking all-in-one thing that I don't know if it has latency issues. I don't know if it will connect properly with my cameras. I don't know if it will allow me to stream in the way that I wanted to stream, or if I have to connect a laptop. Like, I have no idea. I don't know.
would be the first to degrade. Now, this isn't really that crazy of a scenario. When a manufacturing line gets interrupted, humans can forget really quickly, like with Sony and CRTs, with the Department of Energy and Fogbank, or even with the original Saturn V F1 engine. Now, this is, of course, a completely hypothetical scenario, but I think it's really interesting to consider. So picture this. You've entered the final days of manufacturing, where the last chips have been created, and no new silicon designs are ever going to be manufactured again. This is Zero Tape-Out Day, which I'm going to call Z-Day. Now, tape-out is the final stage of the integrated circuit design process, where designs are sent over to the fabs for manufacturing. But on this day, no new designs are going to be created, and no new chips are going to be manufactured. Assuming we keep our existing supply, let's simulate this scenario. Oh no, oh, it's a pirate ship. With a real pirate on board. Z-Day +1. It's been 1 year since CPU manufacturing ended. Cloud providers were the first ones to take the initial hit. Remember the days of small SaaS products? Those are already starting to die, with smaller startups taking the initial hit. The reason? Computing prices have skyrocketed. Now, standing up infrastructure in the cloud has become a significant financial investment with a very uncertain future. The world had to learn a hard lesson, and that lesson is called Black's equation. Black's equation measures a semiconductor's mean time to fail.
Why would I link this? Is this just like a what if video? Okay, I don't care.
There are 2 things that are true about what President Donald Trump.
Ooh, fuck. This seems interesting. On bridging gaps versus drawing lines. I'll think about this. Trump's transportation department pulls trail and bike grants it deems hostile to cars. Why? Do you enjoy working with AV stuff, or do you just hate pros so much you want to do it yourself? I do enjoy it. I mean, I like tech stuff, right? I used to build computers for people. It's fun. I know a fair bit about like hardware. It's an enjoyable project. It's just sometimes like all the standards and shit make me want to kill myself. Like, who names something like PoE++ and PoE+++? Why would you do that? President Donald Trump's transportation department has been pulling back grants already announced for recreational trails and bicycle lanes, telling local officials their projects fail to promote road capacity or are hostile to motor vehicles. Why? We just hate bikes now? We just hate anything that might be vaguely healthy or green or anything, I guess. Okay. Americans don't broadly support Trump's National Guard deployments. Americans are concerned about crime, but don't broadly support President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard to police U.S. cities, according to a new NPR Ipsos law enforcement poll. The survey also shows a significant partisan divide over Trump's crime-fighting tactics. Respondents perceive higher rates of crime at wider geographic levels. Respondents were asked, compared with this time last year, do you feel the crime in the following areas increased, decreased, or stayed the same? Something that would be really interesting is if they compared the perception to the actual reality. I wonder if they do that anywhere. Oh, it's a pretty widely held belief, says the global polling firm's vice president, Mallory Newell. Around 7 in 10 Americans say that the level of crime and violence in American cities is at an unacceptable level. Crime overall, including violent crime, is down significantly from pandemic-era highs across the U.S., but that doesn't bear out in the public perception. It'd be interesting to test the specific cities, I guess, but... The American public largely agrees that crime has increased in the U.S. and in major cities, Newell says. They don't broadly support the actions taken in the name of stopping crime, like calling in the National Guard. This stuff, I hate even saying this because it feels so cocked. But, oh, this isn't showing by party. About 8 in 10 Republicans support something like that. Talking about deploying the National Guard troops to their town or major city. 8 in 10 Republicans support something like that, and almost the same number of Democrats oppose. I feel like it would almost be better for like 50% of people, or like 45% of Dems to support it and 55% of Republicans to support it. These massive partisan divides across every single fucking issue, I think, are super, super, super problematic. It's not good. Read about the church bombing and shooting in Michigan? Nope, not yet. Top line and methodology. In general, which 3 of the following topics do you find the most worrying? Please select up to 3. Inflation, political extremism or polarization, and crime or gun violence. 49% of Republicans care about inflation, as opposed to 37% of Democrats. 37% of Republicans care about political extremism, as opposed to 51% of Democrats. And crime or gun violence, 23 to 32. More Democrats care about crime or gun violence versus Republicans. I'm so curious about the proxying of these things. Like when it says crime or gun violence, I wonder if Republicans code that as being like anti-gun, like anti-Second Amendment. Or when Democrats see like gun violence, they encode that as being like pro, gun control. And they're more willing to vote yes on it or whatever. I don't know. Then we got healthcare, immigration, terrorism, racial injustice, climate change, government budget and debt. That one dropped off. Taxes, social inequality, education. Foreign conflicts. Israel-Palestine, guys. That's what we got to fight on. 9% and 7%. Should buy one of those streamer backpacks with Wi-Fi. I would be interested to see how some of those things work. Like if you could have like the ones that are the most interesting to me, I think I've seen Kai and Speed do it, is where they have like they can switch cameras live, but those guys might have like whole trucks set up. So I don't know if that's like realistic. Can't you do live switching with the ATEM you have? I can, but I'm going to need somebody to run the switcher for me. Hopefully somebody there is able to do it. I don't actually technically need it. I could just use the wide the whole time and then local record on all 3 cameras and then bring it back to August or upload it after an event. In general, which 3 of the following topics do you find the most worrying? In general, which of the 3? In general, which of the 3? Please select. Oh, this is over time, I think. This fucking format. Okay. 22. Okay. Damn, we really don't give a fuck about foreign conflicts. Compared with this time last year, do you feel that crime in the following areas has increased, decreased, or stayed the same? In your city or community? I'm trying to think if logically this is even possible. Like if people were honest or if people knew the numbers. So like, of all the people polled, major cities in your state, 37% say that it's increased. In your city, in your community, 50% said it stayed the same. But if most people live in major cities, shouldn't most people, if they feel like crime has gone up in major cities, shouldn't most people say it's increased? Wouldn't that logically follow? I'm trying to think if I'm missing like a if A then B if or always if. Besson said the U.S. is ready to send $20 billion to Argentina. Bro, that's like revolt shit. I can't even. I saw NMP LOL talk about his streaming backpack, and there's a dashboard for your phone, so it's easy to switch cameras. Interesting. Me trying to figure out why the switch didn't work with the cameras because it's the wrong standard. It's level 3 and I need level 4 basically. It's PoE++ and I need PoE+++. Why is he sending money to Argentina anyway? I don't know. I think that one guy has said nice things about Trump, the leader. I want to call him Muriel. It's not Muriel. Fuck. What the fuck is the guy's name? Malay? Did the secondhand laptop setup go all right? Yeah, I think I have everything set up and working now. I'll just have to do a dry run at the venue a few hours beforehand and hope to God there's not any major fucking issues. And I'm praying that I can fit all of it into one big case. How familiar, if at all, are you with the following? The continued deployment of National Guard troops in D.C., Trump announcing plans to deploy National Guard troops to Memphis. 71%. This number is way higher than I would think. But I wonder how they pull these people. These must be more like politically engaged people or something, right? Or does the average American know? Does that many people? I would hope so. I'm always like doomered about what the average American fucking knows. 71% of people know about the National Guard troops in D.C. though. I mean, the deployments are pretty big news, no? I don't fucking know, bro. The average person, who the fuck knows? I would hope so. Jesus. Like, this is crazy. Do you support or oppose the following? Deploying National Guard troops to a major city in your state for law enforcement officials. Strongly support Democrats, 3%. Somewhat support, 8%. Republicans, strongly support, 48%. Somewhat support, 29%. Holy shit. What is that, 75% basically? If you're a Republican, you support the fucking military coming in to do law enforcement? Holy fucking fascists. What the fuck? That's crazy. Damn, I feel like that's the headline takeaway from this. What did they pull? They don't broadly support. That's wild to me. That partisan split. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly right? The levels of crime and violence in American cities is unacceptably high. Republican, 93%. Crime and violence in American cities isn't that much of a problem. Republican, 7%. Holy media, Batman. Democrats are like 50-50. That's wild. Which of the following is your main source of news in the last month? Social media, podcasts, or YouTube? 19% total. Followed by ABC, CBS, or NBC News is 14%. Digital or online news, 14%. Local news is still here at 10%. Fox is at 9%. CNN or MSNBC is at 5%. New York Times, WAPO, USA Today, or Wall Street Journal, both of these combined reach Fox is 9%. Democrats, 1% for Fox News. Republicans, 24%. Holy shit. I am retarded. Why is deploying the National Guard a bad thing? Like, isn't it a net gain because cities become more safe? Because the military is not generally equipped to law enforcement. You don't want to be arrested by the military. Military exists to fight enemies of the state, like other enemies. So when the government is using the military against its citizens, the citizens become the enemy of your military. It's just not, the military doesn't really do law enforcement. Military shouldn't even really be doing law enforcement in like other countries, but like especially in our own. The only time you're really deploying the military in your own country is for super dire situations. So like national emergencies where there's like huge natural disasters. So like FEMA or National Guard deployment, or if like the lawlessness has like gotten out of control, like maybe like the LA riots or crazy shit like that. Even independents don't watch Fox News. But didn't Eisenhower also use the military during desegregation in that one school? I don't understand the point of the question. I don't understand what you think. That contradicts what I just said. If law enforcement is not enforcing federal law, then I mean you can also, I guess, use it as well. I don't know if they did the National Guard. I do know that the feds, I think were, Ruby, what was the name of that fucking girl? Didn't they have to use the federal law enforcement to escort her to her school? Ruby Rose? Was that her name? Wait. What? First? No. Black girl. Ruby Bridges. Escorted by federal marshals. Ruby Rose is a really shitty actress. Okay. Yeah, of course, 21% of lay epic independents get their news from social media, podcasts, or YouTube. But there's also a difference there too, because like somebody said that the governor sent in the National Guard. Like the governor's doing it is a lot different. I don't know if there's ever been a point in U.S. history besides the Arkansas governor literally deployed the National Guard to stop desegregation. So of course Eisenhower had to federalize them. Oh, okay, then maybe that would have. I don't know the details on that. I'd have to look it up. So maybe Trump would be the second time in history, unless it's happened again, of taking the National Guard from a state and forcibly deploying it against the governor's will. I would say sending Marines is way different than sending the National Guard. I mean, he sent the Marines to California as well, but federalizing the National Guard and deploying them is about it's close to as bad, I think. Because it's only supposed to be done in at the will of the governor. The chief executive of the company that makes Tylenol got a text message earlier this month that contained nothing but a single link to a Substack post. In the post, a promoter of COVID-19 misinformation was connecting autism with acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol. The text was from the nation's top health official, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. At that moment, it was clear to CEO Kirk Perry that his efforts to convince Kennedy that there was no science behind such claims had failed. On Monday, Perry faced a full-blown crisis and an extraordinary public announcement that contradicted widespread medical consensus and even his own top health advisors. President Trump warned that acetaminophen is a potential cause of autism and urged expecting mothers to tough it out without the drug if they could. Taking Tylenol is not good, the president told the world as Kennedy, the Health and Human Services Secretary, looked on. That claim has sent the medical establishment into panic mode and has thrown Kenvue, the company that makes Tylenol, into crisis just 70 days into Perry's tenure as CEO. Damn. This is stupid. I don't know what to say. More states move towards gerrymandering before the midterms.
There are several new fronts in the redistricting wars. The latest example, North Carolina. The state Senate's Republican leader is floating a new map.
I thought the governor is the main person in charge, but the president can call on them at any time, i.e. sending Air National Guard pilots to the Middle East. No, I think that the governors have to consent to the National Guard being deployed in their own states. They're supposed to. That's when I read, that's how the law is written. But
in a state that's already among the most gerrymandered in the country. The Republican gerrymander in Texas is poised to give the party 5 extra seats. They also could pick up multiple seats if Ohio and Florida do their own. And new proposed maps in Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, and Indiana could net them 1 more seat in each. California voters will decide in November whether to allow a Democratic gerrymander there. And Illinois and Maryland may try to add a Democratic seat as well. And in Utah, a judge has ordered them to redraw their map in a way that could add a blue seat. One thing we know for sure, every single seat will count next year. My panel is back. I mean, this effort in North Carolina.
Right.
This guy looks so uncomfortable.
Just shows you the extent Trump was willing to go to just try to get 1 seat here and 1 seat there in order to keep the House.
And I would repeat the word California, and that is the reason that they're doing it. I spoke to a senior Democratic leader who said, whether we like it or not, we cannot sit back. We have to fight, and they're going to fight seat after seat. Look, at the end of the day, Democrats see the midterm election as existential, that if they don't take back the House, there are no guardrails on Donald Trump.
But certainly Trump also sees the midterms as he is, I'm sure we're all hearing this, laser focused right now on, and his decision making, everything he's doing is about the midterms in a lot of different ways.
He's worried about impeachment, he's worried about investigations.
Yes, exactly. Well, and because he knows what what happens if you lose control of Congress. This happened to him before in his first term. He then thinks he's facing investigations, potential impeachment, and just any agenda on the Hill grinds to a halt. So they are incredibly focused on this in any ways that they can move the needle at the moment.
There's so few swing districts in the country, but the California issue is going to be hugely significant.
I was pregnant when I took autism. My son came out with a Tylenol diagnosis.
The voters there will get to vote on this Democratic gerrymander to add 5 Democratic seats in an effort to respond to what happened on the Republican side in Texas. But the person who is fighting this perhaps the hardest is the former Republican governor of California and, of course, former actor.
Yes, they are fixing the elections in Texas. But that does not mean that California should fix the elections because of that. 2 wrongs don't make a right. So this gives them a great opportunity by saying, oh, we have to fight Trump. Let's go and get rid of our democratic principles. Imagine, to fight for democracy and to get rid of your democratic principles. It doesn't make any sense.
Tens of millions have already been spent on both sides on this issue. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it's a fascinating arms race, right? I mean, it's like what the governor says there. He goes, okay, I don't like what's happening in Texas. I don't want what's happening in California. If you tell the Republicans, stop doing it, the Democrats will stop doing it. You know what I mean? It's sort of one of those things. If one side's doing it, the other side feels like they have to do it. If the Republicans are doing it in Texas, a lot of Democrats feel they have to do it in California. There's no singular disarmament. So where do you go? You have every state in the country, every election cycle, then trying to sort of gerrymander their state differently every time based on who's in power. Like, do we do this forever? I mean, that's the question. It's like, where does it end? How does it end?
Well, Schwarzenegger is making a good government argument.
How's your mental health been? I've been fine. Just a little upset that I can't play Expedition 33 as much.
I mean, he was part of the effort to bring in nonpartisan redistricting.
But do Democratic voters in that state?
But that's the thing. I think there is this step back argument, which is what is better for democracy. But right now, neither side is particularly focused on that as they fight this arms race.
Yeah, it really is an arms race, something we have not really ever seen before, as we often say. Now,
I was thinking about joining a place like this.
Do you think we need like a Constitution 2? Is it time to like upgrade? I wonder if we need to like redesign the whole government next legislative session or next presidency. Have you discussed the Mormon church shooting? No, I haven't looked at it yet. I'll get to that once I get through the news.
For the leadership of YouTube, frankly, I probably could have called you privately, but I think it's better to just talk about this in the open on this particular issue.
Is he favored right now to win his mayor or governor race? Am I looking at the totally wrong thing? Is he not? Is he running in Ohio or? Oh. Jesus. Jesus. If you study Reconstruction, you'll realize that was the moment we would have ended the Federal Republic. I don't know what you mean by that. The statement is very ambiguous.
My understanding is in the last 24 hours, you locked the accounts and shut down the accounts of 2 guys, Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones. They have big followings on the American right. I think it's better if you just unlock those accounts and let the guys be heard. And I say this not because I'm some particular fan or vice versa. At least one of them, Nick, is probably not a particularly big fan of mine. No more than Jimmy Kimmel is, by the way, for very different reasons. That's beside the point. It doesn't matter. The reason I'm asking you to do it is that censorship isn't good for America. It's antithetical to our culture. And we're the country on God's green earth where we're able to talk to each other.
Is Vivek as bad as Trump, though? He seems slimy, but if he's still following democratic norms, he might be an improvement. I think one of the big issues that you have with I'm trying to think if this might apply to the Democrats too, maybe. One of the big issues you have with Republicans is the fact that they'll go along with anything. Like, that just can't be. We should expect more leadership from our leaders, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Each other in the open. And I want to credit YouTube and Google and your parent company and so much of your competitors in Silicon Valley for creating the first instance of the free and open internet with search engines. It's a beautiful thing for democratizing speech. But I think we take a step in the wrong direction when we choke those same technologies that allow us to access open debate and open ideas. It breeds discontent. It breeds frustration. It actually breeds mistrust. If you tell people they can't speak, that's when they scream. And if you tell people they can't scream, that's when they tear things down. So I think free speech is a precondition for peace. It's a precondition for the scientific method. It's a precondition for our shared unity, our shared national identity as Americans. Now, I can understand why you might think that certain types of speech or certain things that are said that are hurtful to other people or that may spread misinformation or may they count as violent or dangerous threats shouldn't be allowed on your platform. I personally take a broad view of what type of speech is an expression of an opinion that's protected, but that's a separate discussion about whether somebody says a particular thing that you think doesn't belong on your platform. That's one category of speech moderation. There's a different category of saying that you may
I think like one of the biggest indicators of whether or not our like democracy will ever recover is going to be if we ever have like better discussions on freedom of speech, because the discussions of just like everybody should be able to scream at each other, like everybody should be able to scream into the void, and that's going to produce the best system, is such a naive, childlike, retarded childlike view of speech, because even children aren't that fucking retarded. When we recover from the sickness where a whole bunch of snake oil salesmen and peddlers of lies and disinformation are forced to actually have conversations and are forced to actually have like open debate and dialogue and stuff, and not just create these weird echo chambers where they can just lie with impunity on their own platforms, I think maybe that would advance us more. But the CDC is being forced to get rid of studies that oppose the Trump agenda. Look at the note on the top of this study. Per a court order, Health and Human Services is required to restore this website as of 11:59 p.m. February 11th, 2025. Any information on this page promoting gender ideology is extremely inaccurate and disconnected from the immutable biological reality. There are two sexes, male and female. This phrase right here is anti-philosophical and anti-scientific. This is just like a politically loaded phrase. The Trump administration rejects rejects gender ideology and condemns the harms it causes to children by promoting their chemical and surgical mutilation, and to women by depriving them of their dignity, safety, well-being, and opportunities. This page does not reflect biological reality, and therefore the administration and this department rejects it. What a weird thing to have on a CDC page, but okay. Do you think they're going to be able to arrest you soon for jerking into Fuda porn?
The Trump political revenge tour is...
Might watch this legal video, but I'm just repeating. I already believe in this, but I'm repeating it because somebody emailed it to me. First, let me just say that voting drama gave me real cancer. Oh, from the thing yesterday, I think. Fuck you. Now on topic, there's some extra insane jankery with the Comey prosecution and how the DOJ is going to be undergoing worse and worse chaos every 120 days. Check out this legal video that explains how ridiculous the situation really is and will continue to be. In my opinion, we have taken the reality that Trump wants to do a real military coup/takeover. The signs are, you have to ask yourself what his exit strategy is. He does always have a plan, and he blatantly telegraphs it, yet everyone gets surprised over and over. His strategy first term was that he could strong-arm people into giving him the election. That was his plan, and he almost even did it. I 100% do not believe that he will allow the U.S. to get into midterms and risk losing control of Congress, which could quickly close in on him. I don't know if you get this idea clearly, but from watching your interactions in the political space, it's become very clear to me that the problem with the political media space is this. A, Republicans control the space 100% to always be attacking, never defending, or talking about even their own policies, ever. When there is a discussion, it is always Democrats or liberals defending something. And B, when there was literally nothing for them to be talking about / attacking, as has been going on more recently with Democrats having zero government power at all. They find some obscure topic, fake report that quote unquote liberals are doing something they're not, like complaining about the jeans ad or celebrating the Kirk shooting, and that baits some very extreme liberals to do exactly that. If for no other reason than the message that they are against Republicans, then that becomes the entire discussion. The Kirk shooting was not the first that could have been politically blown out the way that it did. This was obviously amped up entirely for political unity at a time when the base was getting confused about the insane situation with Trump trying to cover up even the Epstein files. I wish more people could see the aggression thing. Like, Republicans are always able to fight everything. It's like they're always fighting. Like, Democrats are always having to defend some bullshit. It's so crazy.
Under the previous administration, a review panel was convened to determine whether soldiers awarded the Medal of Honor for their actions at the Battle of Wounded Knee should keep their medals. Now, upon deliberation, that panel concluded that these brave soldiers should, in fact, rightfully keep their medals from actions in 1890. The report was concluded in October of 2024. Yet, despite this clear recommendation, former Secretary Lloyd Austin, for whatever reason, I think we know he was more interested in being politically correct than historically correct, chose not to make a final decision. Such careless inaction has allowed for their distinguished recognition to remain in limbo until now. Under my direction, we're making it clear without hesitation that the soldiers who fought in the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890 will keep their medals. And we're making it clear that they deserve those medals. This decision is now final, and their place in our nation's history is no longer up for debate. We salute their memory, we honor their service, and we will never forget what they did.
Okay. I think apparently this was a battle in 1890, I guess, where we were trying to disarm a bunch of natives and then basically ended up killing a whole bunch of them. Up to 300 Lakota people were killed and 51 wounded. 25 U.S. soldiers were killed and 39 were wounded. 19 soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor. So brave. Epic. Yeah, nobody's alive from that battle anymore, but... Ooh, Hasan slop. Oh, Israel shit. Oh my god. What is this? I don't think I watched this on stream yesterday. There was some Hasan tweet that triggered the fuck out of me. I hate this fucking guy. Well, it was something about him. I think, oh no, it was an Awk tweet, I think. He was like, I've been fighting all alone. I hate this fucking piece of shit.
For the first 9 months of this administration, every single person in our immediate vicinity, in the space that we occupy, were so fucking terrified of saying something because they were fearful of the repercussions. This created an environment.
This is all a lie, by the way. He's trying to sell this idea that all of these streamers at Twitch, I think the issue is he's feeling pressured because he has no more allies on the Twitch streamer side. Obviously, the staff and everybody are still massive Hasan simps. But on the streamer side, nobody really gives a fuck about Lil Bro anymore, right? OTK, I think, is largely kind of doing their own thing. All of his friends don't really stream with him. He doesn't play games as much. He's like kind of veered off into the politics world a lot. Asmongold is now the largest politics streamer on Twitch, and then he gets a lot of flack via the Asmongold community, and then LSF is completely lost to him now because my community will always hate him. XQC's community is probably always going to hate him, and now the larger Asmongold replacement gold community will always fucking hate him. So I think he's just like, he keeps selling this idea of like all these people it's like the Trump thing. Oh, trust me, all these people tell me this thing. I can't tell you any of their names, but all these people behind the scenes are ready to fight. They're ready to come out, guys, but they're feeling the pressure. He's like trying to signal to his audience to like, you know, give these people props or encourage them to join the fight. But the reality is, like, little bro, no one cares. No one gives a fuck about this shit on Twitch. They just want to stream and do their thing. Like Extra Emily and, you know, fucking Valkyrie and Pokemon are not like, oh God, like I'm so ready to join the political fight, but I'm so scared of Republicans. Like these people just don't care that much.
Or immediate vicinity in the space that we occupy were so fucking terrified of saying something because they were fearful of the repercussions. This created an environment where only right-wing voices were heard. That's what,
like, if what Hasan is saying is true, it's only true to the extent that the only fear that's been created in these spaces comes from left-wingers. Because the fear is that if you talk about anything that's not Israel-Palestine, and you don't have the maximalist position that every Israeli should be shot and killed, then you're fucked. You have absolutely nothing to contribute to the zone. So insofar as anybody's scared to say anything at all, it's because people like Hasan push the most important topic, something that very few Americans even care that much about, is the maximalist position on fucking Israel-Palestine. So if this even is an issue, he has nobody but himself to blame on this.
I was fucking out here 1v25ing motherfuckers because the only people that spoke were right-wingers that said, this is all awesome.
I don't know who he thinks he's 1v25ing. Motherfucker won't even 1v1 conservatives in debates. Like, this guy's a pussy. This guy will not have a confrontational conversation with anybody. So I don't know where this, like, delusional fantasy comes from, but...
ICE deportations, sign me up. I'm going to do fucking Pokemon hunts. And anyone that spoke out at that time would be pushed aside, would be fought back against, would get doxxed, would get fucking harassed endlessly. So it would get doxxed, be pushed aside, would be fought back against, would get doxxed, would get fucking harassed endlessly.
Like, that's what you do, little bro. And you did it to liberals. Like, you're the one that watched the Bad Empanada videos doxing everybody on the left. You're the one that watched Bad Empanada read through the Progressive Victory FEC findings to dox every single liberal on Twitch. That was you, little bro. That was literally all you.
So it created an asymmetry you didn't get to hear for the apolitical people on the outside looking in. It created this false sense of security and a false sense of popularity for right-wing ideals and right-wing values. I tried behind closed doors to talk to people to say, look, you guys have to say something. I know you don't agree with the...
Begging people, please, can you please cover me publicly? Asmongold is crushing me in viewership. I'm like getting so ass-pained by this. Please, please, please do more political streams with me.
Shit, you have to fucking say something. They didn't because they were worried. I don't...
Like, they're not worried about Asmongold. Like, do people even complain that much on Twitch? I don't even know who does politics there. But even me, I get a lot of like homophobic shit from Asmon's audience whenever like Awk tweets about me, but I don't know if they like harass and dox me. That's always been like KF and then like all the weirdo fucking lefties that are obsessed with me. Like, I feel like the most active, like violent community right now, at least in my particular political sphere, are my Kiwi farmer people and then all the lefties that support them.
I don't fault those people for being fearful. The expectation is not... The expectation from me was never going to be for those people to just like put themselves in the fucking crosshairs in the line of fire. But we are here now. So find that courage within you.
You're such a fucking loser, dude.
If you're watching, if you're a content creator, if you're an artist...
Wasn't this dude's dad a rich stockbroker and he claimed to have come from poor and dirt? Bro, this guy's family was fucking loaded. I didn't go through all the streams, I'm lazy, but somebody sent me his mom's like fucking blog from when she was younger. And his mom like traveled the world. It's like she was gonna be like a fashion model or some shit, and had multiple houses like all over the world. It's just like, damn, his family was like fucking insanely loaded. It was crazy. I don't know if they were like... It wouldn't be royalty. Yeah, I have no idea.
Find that courage within you now, because we do have the number.
His dad was VP at the biggest company in Turkey. Yeah, but I don't think it was just his dad. I think his mom comes from like an extremely wealthy background as well. I think his whole family is like insanely wealthy. don't know what her age was in this one. It wasn't always an easy and smooth ride. I had some pitfalls of my own, making along the way. I left for my summer vacation in Bodrum, determined to make new connections, and disappointment started to intrude on my otherwise joyous existence because I hadn't been able to meet all of our nearby neighbors. Demands of our own large household didn't leave much time to seek more company, but the hope of making new connections had metamorphosed into something else I didn't recognize at the time. The day before they were to leave for Istanbul, my mother-in-law's helper, Boston, asked me for one of my paintings. Mother-in-law's helper? Does that mean like servant or maid? Or I think this is translated from, is it Turkish? That's a language, right? I wonder what the original Turkish is on this, because I think this person's sending me a Google Translated article. My mother-in-law's helper, Boston, asked me for one of my paintings. I stayed up half the night before they left to finish one of our view. The feeling I saw on her face when I gave it to her was priceless. She left with a promise to have a handmade collar, especially embroidered for me in Turkmenistan. This little exchange between two women who were basically strangers before they shared experiences, food, and laughter for 1 month under the same roof can be considered a way of connecting. Why did he say he had to buy that house in West Hollywood for his parents? Why did he say that? For my family? I feel like I've heard him say that multiple times. Wait, were these recipes? Entrees, fallen woman's kebab. My grandmother Olker's recipe, Dusmus Kadin Kebabi. The first time I visited my parents' hometown, Kilis, a small border city in southeastern Anatolia, I was about 9 or 10 years old. My maternal grandparents still kept a house there at the time, and it was one of the most incredible places I'd ever seen. You entered into an open courtyard that had the kitchen and several small rooms bordering it, and a door to a small backyard, and then there were stairs on the side wall that took you up to the family's living quarters. I felt like I was in a fairy tale house. It was so different than the cement blocks that we called home back in Istanbul. That trip was the first time I tasted this kebab. Yeah, but anyway, his whole fucking family is like insanely fucking loaded, I guess. Or they all live like fairy tale lives. For years, whenever she was already married here. For years, whenever my husband and I traveled anywhere, we used to have some major disagreements about the way we wanted to enjoy our vacation. I wanted to see as much as possible of whatever history and art the city had to offer, while he just wanted to find out about the nice restaurants and maybe take a scenic look at the city, try to get a feel for it, and that's it. My problem was I wanted to share all I saw with him. I wanted to get his opinion on what I saw and let it be a part of our combined experience. I used to plead and try to entice him into doing what I wanted until we ended up fighting. After a while, I realized he might not be interested in seeing all the museums of all the European cities we have traveled to, and he might just want to enjoy the city in his own way. Oh, this is when she was living in New Jersey in 2006. I wasn't always a housewife. I had a promising career in fashion, retailing, until I had kids. Believe it or not, from the time I was a little girl, and none of my dreams for the future was there a house that I was cleaning or a family that I was picking up after. Most of my life, I felt like a visitor passing through without belonging to any place in particular. I would be forever getting ready for the next trip. When I was a teenager growing up in the States, I used to think that if we owned a summer house in Turkey, I would have a place and friends to call my own and feel a sense of normalcy somehow. While most of my friends were envious of my life of jet setting across the Atlantic back and forth, I always envied their simple summer plans of going away to the same place to be with the same family doing the same things. Even having a family didn't make a difference in my life. Now I was moving the whole family back and forth. These were the thoughts I always had to compete with as I agonized over our summer plans every single year. We never were able to create the stable atmosphere I had been longing for. Maybe due to the fact that we now live in New Jersey, we were finally able to realize this lifelong dream of mine and get a house in Bodrum this summer. Ironically, now it's the boys who want to make plans of staying put and living like a normal teenager, while we are dragging them here for their own good. I feel we have finally succeeded in creating the perfect atmosphere this summer of sharing good times with loved ones in one of the most beautiful parts of Turkey, a summer to remember and to repeat. We feel at home and a part of a community that we are already making plans to return to next year. This is due in part to some simple rituals we have established as a part of our life here. We go into Turgatrius every Saturday to have lunch. Monty, which is Turkish ravioli, especially prepared for us. Ali, the proprietor/chef, asks us early on in the week the only question of how many people will be this Saturday. So far, we have been there every week as a family with slight variations within the group. Nice. Jesus. Anyway, sorry. God damn. His mom lived like... I wonder what his dad's growing up was like. He doesn't have a blog or anything. Aw, she includes like cute pictures of the family. Oh, look, you can see a little Hasan here. Very cute. Is his dad's name Dorgan? Dorgan? Or Dogan? Dogan Uygur is an engineer, entrepreneur, and writer. Born and raised in southern Turkey, he attended college in Istanbul before moving to the U.S. for graduate school in 1961. He started and ran businesses both in Turkey and America, including International Makina Sanayi, a company that was at the forefront of Turkish machine manufacturing during the 70s. After escaping political upheaval in Turkey in 1978, he returned to the U.S., where he worked in commercial real estate for nearly 30 years. And today he lives in Freehold, New Jersey with his wife, Nuket. God damn. Okay. Why does any of this matter? I just hate people who LARP as poor people. It drives me fucking crazy. And it's, for some reason, Hasan acts like he didn't have one of the most insanely fucking privileged upbringings, like, of all time. Like, his family is like fucking royalty. This guy lived like one of the most, like, not even like upper class, but like royalty class. Like, this guy has like Turkish family that's like traveling and studying like all over the world and shit, in multiple homes in multiple places. And like, not even like his family's rich because his dad got lucky in business or made well in business, but like both his parents come from insanely rich backgrounds too. Just curious, why would anyone want to LARP as a poor person? What exactly is the incentive? I don't know. People like to victimize themselves because when you get a little bit more credit, you get more patience, you get more credit for like the accomplishments you have. But I don't know. Something like that. I hate being seen as a victim is fucking cringe. I don't know. But different people, different strokes for different cocks. Darius gets caught in a shootout.
All right, we're back, man. I apologize for that. What's going on? What? Oh shit, I don't know if I want to get involved. Oh shit. Oh.
Jesus.
Oh fuck. Oh shit.
Baby, sweet.
Shit, someone over there. Shit.
That's Darius's ex-roommate who got his 2 other roommates arrested the other day. At Destiny, no offense, but don't you also LARP as a poor person sometimes, even though you haven't been one for quite a while? When the fuck have I ever LARPed as a poor person, ever?
Fuck that. Oh my god, guys.
Good bait. That was a good bait. You got me on that. A milli subs. Who is... who are the haters for this guy?
You can do anything you fucking want!
$60K subs were donated by Riot Games. Based. I can understand people being like excited for viewership numbers because you're like, it's a popular stream and you're watching a popular stream. And then I can understand people who are excited for like their smaller streamers to hit like 1,000 or like 10,000 subs or whatever. But at this point, I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, why are we? I don't know. What is the excitement? I guess it's kind of like another form of viewership to show how many subs somebody has, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he had a goal. Oh, like he was going to do a special event or something? Hype moments and aura. Based. Okay, maybe. Maybe I'm the hater. Oh, this is what we just watched, right?
The first...
What? 1v25ing? What is he talking about? Oh my god. He's so cringe.
The past year and a half, or for the past 2 years, this kind of stuff was basically fair game. Like my former podcast co-host was doing memes like this, you know what I mean? Like, and I think 2 years ago, if someone was saying something like,
was Ethan talking about deporting Hasan back to Turkey a lot? Was that a thing Ethan was saying?
Like this on Reddit, they'd be promoting it, and it goes to show you even Reddit, which is like neoliberalism, State Department Central, they have also gone woke. They're woke. They're woke on the issue.
I feel like neoliberals are like the most fucking hated people on Reddit. It's like 70% fucking lefty cringe slop, and then it's like 28% fucking like neo-Nazi shit. And then there's like 2% neoliberal, which is like the r/neoliberal subreddit and then the r/Destiny subreddit.
Issue of Palestine, they're woke on this stuff. Sending Hasan to New Jersey is a punishment in and of itself. Turkey, I can understand. New Jersey is where I draw the line. I don't know, man. You're the One Piece left-wing pipeline. Oh, that's the other thing. There's mad, like, there's so much. This has been... Listen.
Fuck, I don't have the software installed for my soundboard yet.
Many weeks have been weeks of vindication. Okay, but this week in particular has been a major week of vindication. And it's really interesting because I didn't do none of this, right? I just kind of do my own thing. I keep my head down.
This guy cries and fucking schemes behind the scenes so hard. I just keep my head down. Oh my God.
Right? I just kind of do my own thing. I keep my head down. I keep pushing. I keep promoting the causes that I believe. I keep advocating, and you know, people keep moving. Partigiano. Bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Turkey's in a pain to protect the flotilla. Erdogan probably watched your stream yesterday. Yeah, he listens to me, dude.
It's so fucking cringe because one, he's never sang this song before. And then two, like, I feel reasonably confident. I'm going to say like 75% that the guy that killed Charlie Kirk was not politically radicalized. It's just nothing has come out at all about this. I feel like we're never going to hear about him again. Well, I guess once the trials are through, will. So the fact that Hasan is like trying to claim this is like, to write this as a far left shooter violence because it is like cooler for him. God, it's so fucking cringe. Oh my God, he's such a fucking cringe loser. Destiny, why is Dan retard? The harder he gets Trump admin to go after Hasan, the more he looks like a martyr. Pepe W. What? Martyrdom is bullshit. I don't think that's real. Just got off work. Did you see An LDS church got shot up by a 40-year-old MAGA dude. No. I'll probably look at that after this, covering the Stoofs. Didn't we already watch this? Erudite shares her hot take, an hour-long video. The unforgivable sins of Miss Rachel. You really want me to watch this? 1 minute. Good one. 2.5 hours, bruv. Oh, I saw this.
Breaking.
Trump posted this on... What? No, he deleted it. Ugh. Why is he posting AI of himself?
Breaking now. President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare system, the launch of America's first MedBed hospitals and a national MedBed card for every citizen.
Every American will soon receive their own MedBed card. With it, you'll have guaranteed access to our new hospitals led by the top doctors in the nation, equipped with the most advanced technology in the world. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. This is the beginning of a new era in American healthcare.
In this first phase, only a limited number of MedBed cards will be released. Registration details will be announced very soon. Breaking now. President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare.
Just a reminder for if the shoe was on the other foot. If Biden had fucking truthed out a video like this, people would be calling him literally fucking cooked. Was the movie Elysium? What was the movie where they had these things? Like you could go on a bed and it just like fixes every single disease or ailment or everything you could possibly have. I think that's what these are, right? MedBeds are the subject of conspiracy theory alleging there are beds that can cure any condition. Videos and podcasts about MedBeds have become popular in far-right communities on Telegram, Discord, and Rumble. There are supposedly 3 types of MedBeds located in secret military tunnels: a holographic MedBed, which supposedly diagnoses and cures any sickness, a MedBed that supposedly regenerates missing limbs in minutes, and a MedBed that supposedly reverses aging. Based. Read the last paragraph. In September 2025, President Donald Trump posted Truth Social an AI-generated video. Why do you want me to read that? We literally just watched this. Okay. Supreme Court filing by the Mormon Church, Evangelical Christians, Southern Baptists, other religious organizations, including Jewish organizations, demanding the right to discriminate against transgender people. Okay.
Announce this one thing which I really do. And if I get to announce this one thing which I really fucking hope I do, it's really a I win moment, and I really can't wait for that to happen. And I'm not gonna lie, I cannot tell you how great things are going. I could boot up a stream right now. I'm good to go. I've been good to go for a while now, despite what people who think they know what's going on in my brain think about me more than I think about me. I'm very good. Things are very good. And yeah, I could stream, but it's not the right time and I don't want to make any mistakes. So I'm really locking it down, and me locking it down just means sit back, relax,
and tweet
pick
all
my feet
day.
up, go to the gym, focus on my diet, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I guess I get to enjoy this vacation. It's been 3 weeks. It's kind of weird. Shout out to all you guys who are still on my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Dude, Twitter game's been insane. Discord's been insane too. I mean, Jesus, it's been so funny. I probably will start playing some games with my Discord members pretty soon here, just because I miss the whole community aspect. Probably play some Lethal Company or some Among Us or maybe some some bullshit. But just know, I'm really good right now. I can't remember a time where I was better.
Bum, 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 bum. Why has this weeb become a right-wing guy? Why is the right embracing this weeb? What do you mean weeb? Is he a weeb? Yes. Oh. Why was I linked this? Okay. Abraham Lincoln shouldn't have declared war on the Confederacy. I was skimming over how the Civil War began, and there was no formal declaration of war at first, but just Lincoln ordering blockades and mobilization of troops because of the attack on Fort Sumter. This is a good thing if you believe the states are part of a country as a whole, rather than a collection of states, and I don't blame him for doing it. But the more I think of it, I think we should have let the Confederates leave the U.S. because why would you force a population to believe and participate in a union when they don't want to? We almost had another Civil War breakout in 1876 because of this lingering hate. How can a union of states have legitimacy if it's not built on reciprocal agreements but forced participation? I mean, there's a balance, right? Like, what would happen? Like, how would World War I or II have gone if the U.S. was like two divided countries and we could have had more wars against each other and... like, I don't know. Yeah, fuck that. Also, what? Anybody that wants to secede from a country can just like break apart your country? Fuck that. Nah, homie. Nah. What is this?
Is EFOC.
Fuck, I'm sorry for refreshing.
Spelled backwards is EFOC, which is funny because until I've had my coffee, I don't give EFOC about anything.
I like that joke. That's good. It's semantic game playing of the best sort.
Coffee, spelled backward.
Okay. Just walked out of one battle after another, the worst crap I've ever seen. My first ever movie walkout. The movie has but three goals: to show us whites as horrible people, glorify others, encourage colored people to rebel, and disturb your humanity in all ways possible. My God, are you okay, bruh? Destiny.
I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah. I thought I was.
And that you now understand, having thought about it.
It's kind of like a weird thing to go down, but okay. AOC thought she was going to be raped and killed at the Capitol on January 6th. AOC was never in the Capitol on January 6th. She wasn't in the Capitol building itself, but there was like nearby offices and stuff. Like she was within range of all the, like the area she was in, like the security told them to lock down and everything. So she might not have been in the building proper, but she was pretty close by. This is like building 7 was nowhere near the Twin Towers, but okay. Oh, wait, is this the same guy? Oh, he even shows it. I mean, like there were what 100,000. Well, I don't know what the actual numbers are. Anywhere from 10 to 100,000 people outside. Like, yeah, okay.
Today we are going to talk about the relationship between acetaminophen and autism. Dr. K has officially entered the fray. I'm Dr. K, and I have a purpose in life. The White House recently released a statement and held a press conference talking about the link between acetaminophen and autism. And there's a lot of stuff in the statement that I think is actually pretty good. They cite one study from the Harvard School of Public Health, which is, let's remember, liberal academia, that shows that there's a correlation.
Wait, what did he say? Hold on.
A statement and held a press conference talking about the link between acetaminophen and autism. And there's a lot of stuff in the statement that I think is actually pretty good. They cite one study from the Harvard School of Public Health, which is, let's remember, liberal academia, that shows that there's a correlation between autism and Tylenol or acetaminophen use. And their conclusion, I know this sounds insane, is not wrong. I think the problem is that it is also not right. Now, in order to understand what we mean by that, we have to start by understanding what autism spectrum disorder actually is. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent social deficits and restrictive repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities. So what does that mean? What is a neurodevelopmental disorder? If I set out to build a house, there is a typical way that a house looks, and there's a typical set of tools that I will use to build a house. I'll use a hammer, I'll use nails, and if everything works the way that it's supposed to, I end up with a typical house. Now, how would that house end up differently if I started making changes to the materials that I used? If I used, let's say, foam instead of wood, or if I used a hammer that was a little bit lopsided, how would that house end up looking? And what we see in autism spectrum disorder is that there are probably all kinds of little things that when they compound over the course of the development of our brain result in this autism spectrum picture. The second thing about autism spectrum disorder is that it is a spectrum. So I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but autism spectrum disorder is not one disorder. It is actually millions of individual disorders, individual pictures that we all lump together because they, in the ballpark, look the same. So if we go back to our house analogy, we have a typical house, a cookie cutter suburban house that is built the same way every single time. That's what neurotypical is. But if we think about all of the ways in which a house can be atypical, if I mess with the measuring tape, it'll be crooked in this way. If I mess with the nails, it'll be crooked in this other way. If I use a different kind of wood, or if I use wood instead of concrete, it'll be vulnerable to other things. And so this is what autism is. It's a high degree of variability. And since it's not all one thing, it is not caused by one smoking gun. And we also see this over the course of the spectrum, right? There are some people on the autism spectrum who basically are very high functioning and can essentially lead normal lives. And there are some people whose houses are very, very atypical. The walls don't even support the roof, and they struggle immensely. Now that we understand the neurodevelopmental process, let's get back to Tylenol and autism. The scary thing is that autism rates are definitely on the rise, but the question is why? So Tylenol may actually be a part of it. There was a tweet in 2017 where the Tylenol manufacturers actually said, we don't recommend the use of Tylenol in pregnancy. And if we look at the actual quantitative data, we find that there is some data to support this. So one meta-analysis found that the risk of autism goes up by about 20 to 30% when we use Tylenol. And on the one hand, that may sound like a lot, but it's actually really, really low. So if Tylenol isn't super responsible for it, and we'll still get to that a little bit later, the question is what else could be contributing to the higher rates of autism that we're seeing? And this is where I still get to that. On one hand, that may sound
Okay, this is not the one review that they were touting recently, right? I don't think so.
Sound like a lot, but it's actually really, really low. So if Tylenol isn't super responsible for it, and we'll still get to that a little bit later, the question is what else could be contributing to the higher rates of autism that we're seeing? And this is where I love it. So XQC even talked a little bit about this, and he suggested that maybe the rates of autism were actually always the same, but we are now better at diagnosing it. And we've seen multiple changes in our diagnostic criteria, so we're catching autism. So it's always been there, but now we're detecting or catching it way higher. And that's absolutely part of the picture. But if we look at larger data sets and meta-analyses for risk factors for autism, we see all kinds of things. The first is that there are all kinds of prenatal or perinatal or even postnatal risk factors for autism spectrum disorder. At the top of the list are things like maternal or paternal age. And if we look at the age at which people are having their first child, that age is actually increasing over time. So women are having their first children about 5 years later, and they're continuing to have kids into their 30s and even low 40s. The age at which people become fathers is actually increasing as well by closer to about 3 to 5 years. And we know that maternal and paternal age account for about a 30% increase in risk. But it's not just age. If we look at a list of risk factors for autism spectrum disorder, we see things like gestational hypertension increases the risk by about 30%, diabetes increases the risk by 50%, and then we see some weird variables like college education and college graduate, which increase it by 50%. And this is where there's a really, really important thing to understand. Correlation, education and college graduate, which increase it by 50%, this is the risk by 50%.
Oh, fuck. This is one of those numbers that I have to look up every fucking time because I never remember what it stands for. Is our risk ratio Is this compared to somebody that doesn't have the risk factor? Is that what this is? So like this would mean a 58% increase or whatever? Oh, relative risk. Okay. Maybe people with college degrees are more likely to get their children tested.
And we see some weird variables like college education and college graduate, which increase it by 50%. And this is where there's a really, really important thing to understand. Correlation does not equal causation. So here's the question that I have for y'all. What do you think is the association between the age at which you have children and whether you went to college and graduated or not? So if we take college graduates, there's a greater likelihood that they had children when they were older. So when we have this gigantic list of risk factors, what are the biggest smoking guns? And this is one that I really want to highlight. Respiratory infection increases the risk of autism by 264%. Now we get to another really important principle that I want y'all to understand, which is something called a confounding variable. So if we look at Tylenol and we say Tylenol increases the risk of autism, the other thing that we have to consider anytime we are looking at the effect of a medication, if a medication is a risk for something, one thing that we must do is ask ourselves, why is the person taking a medication in the first place? Is there an association between taking Tylenol and being sick? What is the effect of being sick on the risk of developing autism later in life? And what we find from a deeper dive into the data is that respiratory infections increase the risk by about 264%, whereas the risk from Tylenol is about 20%. This is a 10-fold increase in the risk. So it's not necessarily the medication that's causing the problem, but the underlying illness that is actually the largest contributor of risk to autism spectrum disorder. And now things get even weirder. So one of the big things that RFK is really focused on is chronic illness. And I think actually this is great. I think we don't approach chronic illness in the best way that we could in our system of healthcare that emphasizes very Herculean measures in the last like year or 2 years of people's lives, right? So we have a system of healthcare that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars per patient on ICU care and heart transplants and things like that. I think all those things are fantastic. We don't do enough for preventive care. We don't do enough for chronic diseases. I think this is great. But here's the really nutty thing. The better your medical system gets, the more sick people you will have. So I want y'all to look at some of these risk factors like threatened abortion, peripartum hemorrhage, brain bleeds. So what would have happened to these children 60 years ago? They would have just died. Now what's starting to happen is we are having these high risk things. So like, what is the risk of autism if someone has bleeding in their brain? That risk is pretty high. Now we're actually able to save these children. If we look at some of these things like hypertension or infections, as our medical system actually gets better, there were a lot of children who may have just passed away that may have resulted in abortion. We may not have been able to save that kid. And now we are able to save that kid who had a brain bleed during birth, who had a ruptured placenta right before they were born. And since there's some of these weird cytotoxic and anoxic kind of injuries to the brain, we see this house that should have been put together in this way. Remember, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder, which means that now the brain is not growing in the way that it should. And what we end up with is something like autism spectrum disorder. So these are two huge things that I really want to focus on, which is that part of the reason we're seeing more autism is that we're getting better at diagnosing it. There are a ton of people who have high functioning autism who 50 years ago would have just been odd, but we wouldn't have diagnosed them with anything. The second thing is that we are able to keep people who are sick, especially pregnant mothers and children in the perinatal period and postnatal period, healthier. This combined with things like paternal and maternal age increasing, as well as a host of different medications that have an association with autism. I think all of these things put together explain why autism spectrum disorder is on the rise. And there are a couple of other risk factors that we understand. One is that there are certain genes that are associated with an increased risk of autism. We also know that certain environmental exposures like phthalates or nitrogen dioxide are associated with increased risk of autism. Basically, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into building a typical house. And if you look at all of the ways that you can interfere with that house ending up typical, all of those things can contribute to autism spectrum disorder. Earlier, I said a 20 to 30% increase in risk for autism spectrum disorder that acetaminophen gives is actually not that big of a deal. Now, this is where things are going to get really, really weird, okay? So there are other medications that increase the risk of autism and actually increase them way more than acetaminophen. And these are medications that I think the current administration isn't a huge fan of. And at the top of the list are SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Now, RFK Jr. has been saying that we over-medicate psychiatric patients way too much, has been sort of concerned about stimulants, concerned about SSRIs. And I think this is another example of like, I'm not entirely disagreeing with the guy. I do think that we tend to reach for psychotropic medications way faster than we should. But I think the real problem with things like SSRIs is that we sort of don't develop a comprehensive treatment plan that incorporates all kinds of other things. I think SSRIs are great medications, and I think we overprescribe them. So SSRIs increase the risk of autism spectrum disorder by about 80%. Some studies show that they basically double the risk of autism spectrum disorder, which sounds really scary, right? But when we look at the data, we see a lot of things around statistics that are counterintuitive. Even though SSRIs basically double the risk, 99% of people who are on SSRIs during pregnancy will not have autistic children. And about 99% of people who give birth to autistic children were not on SSRIs. Now, how can that be? So if we look at the data, let's just take a look at the actual numbers, okay? So this is the group of people who are autistic.
I don't know if he does this strategically because his audience might lean one way or another, but I don't like the whole like, well, I kind of agree with this guy, but we don't completely agree. And it's like, no, you don't actually agree at all. There are just some outcomes that are similar for you. Like you just have some outcomes. That's it, right? Like imagine, you walk into a room and then, you see a woman and she's getting raped by some guy, and another guy walks in, he pulls out a gun, he shoots the dude. And you're like, oh my God. And the guy's like, what? And it's like, you saved that woman. I'm so happy that you killed the guy that was raping her. And the guy's like, the black guy? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, he was raping her? I didn't know. I just wanted to kill him because he was black. And I was like, okay, well, at least I agree on, you killing him. It's like, well, not really. Like, not really. That's not really what we're, yeah, I don't know.
Prenatal.
Like, if RFK and these other, weird snake oil salesmen, fraudsters that are now infesting our Health and Human Services Department were saying things like, I think that we might overprescribe SSRIs or amphetamines. I think that there are more comprehensive ways we can approach these diseases. I think there are like other ways that we can combat these things, from just like a multifaceted way. Like that might be one thing that I think most people, that's almost like a truism. I think we can do more. Sure. Yeah, I can get on board with that. But it's more like, I don't think they think these things are real. They don't think depression is real, or they don't think ADHD is real. They don't think any of these things are like, everybody's just different and special, and that's it. And whatever conclusions they might have, however they might intersect with any, prescriptions or conclusions somebody else might have, I would be very scared of saying we have some level of agreement.
B. So if we look at the data, let's just take a look at the actual numbers, okay? So this is the group of people who are autistic, prenatally exposed to SSRIs, right? This is 14, and prenatally unexposed to SSRIs. So in this one study, there are 14 people out of 1,679 who were exposed to SSRIs who ended up with autism. But 1,665 people who are autistic in this study were never exposed to SSRIs. So this is where we have to understand that the basic risk is really small. So the risk of having a child with autism is somewhere between 1 in about 3%, all the way down to 1 in about 500. So let's say that the baseline risk of autism is about 0.5%, right? So 1 out of every 200 kids, I'm just averaging different epidemiologic studies, okay? So you basically have a chance of 1 out of 200 to end up with a child on the spectrum. So even if we double that risk from 0.5% to a whopping 1%, the actual risk is still pretty small, right? Are you doubling your odds? Yeah, but the odds are still really, really low. If you sort of think about it, like if I were to double your odds of winning the lottery, what is the likelihood that you would win the lottery? It's still really, really small. And these kinds of statistical things are really hard to understand. Our brain is not designed to understand these kinds of statistics. And this is why some of these things like a Tylenol increases the risk of autism by 20%, 30%, 50%, 100% is actually a very small contributor to the overall risk of being on the spectrum. And so now I think we're getting a picture of what causes autism. So here's the scary thing. I don't think that the stuff in the White House statement is wrong. I think that there are a lot of studies that show an association between Tylenol and autism. I think the real danger is that it's woefully incomplete. For example, one study from about 1 year ago in the Journal of the American Medical Association did a deeper dive into the link between autism and Tylenol. And what they found doing something called a sibling analysis of 185,000 sample size, basically found that Tylenol was not responsible for this increased risk, that there were these confounding variables. And once you factor in those confounding variables, you find no association between Tylenol and autism. They also did something really cool, which is a dose response analysis. And the hypothesis here is that if Tylenol is causing a change to your brain that results in you having autism, the more Tylenol we give, the stronger the risk on autism should be. But they actually found no dose-response relationship. There's some caveats to that too. You don't always see a dose-response relationship. But generally speaking, if something is bad for your brain, the more of we give it, the worse it's going to be for your brain. And so some of these deeper analyses actually suggest that there isn't a strong link. There's one part of my conspiracy theorist mind which really gets a little bit, so this is the one thing that I wouldn't trust here, is as a part of this statement, they sort of have this one line about Trump is approving a drug, right, that will treat autism symptoms. And that makes me wonder if there's some kind of like lobbying going on here. I don't really know. That's kind of outside of my wheelhouse, but I do wonder about that stuff sometimes. But I think the biggest concern here is that when we make a statement like this and we leave out a lot of complexity, that is going to drive behavior. And the really scary thing is that it could drive behavior in the wrong direction. If we stop using Tylenol, we may be more likely to start using things like ibuprofen or NSAIDs, which have been shown to cause problems with infants' kidneys. They have their own like host of risks associated with it. And the most insidious thing is that when we oversimplify a problem, when we make something that is incredibly complex and has genetic factors, environmental factors, SSRI
Wow, Canelo, thanks for gifting 4 subs in DGG.
Contributions, potentially Tylenol contributions, paternal and maternal age, infections, fever, when all of these things are considered, then we can understand what really causes autism. The problem is that when we oversimplify it, we start to ignore all of those other things. And if we start to ignore a lot of other risk factors like fever and respiratory infection that are associated with a 243% increase, this kind of policy will actually make autism worse.
Okay. It's okay. I'm more hateful. Did RFK Jr. do this so we can sue pharma companies and make more money? I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know where this Tylenol obsession came from. I have no fucking idea. This is the end of my re-election campaign. New York City Mayor Eric Adams officially drops out. Oh, rip. Andrew Callahan from Channel 5 is considering not putting out his Pete Buttigieg interview because I guess it went too well and his Patreon audience is trashing him for it. Audience capture among influencers and alternate media is kind of a scourge. Debating whether or not to put this one out. Truthfully, one of my faults as an interviewer is that I don't like being mean or confrontational to people. It was a good discussion and I liked him, but I posted on Patreon and people are super pressed on me for not pressing the fuck out of him for APAC funding and a couple other controversies. At the end of the day, I will work on getting better at asking tough questions of politicians, but you guys still want to see this. Jesus Christ. Churchgoers, please, I beg you. 1, carry at church. 2, ask your church about their security plans. If they don't have a team, start one. We are under attack. My church has a safety team, but I'm not sure what they would actually do. I see them in the lobby, but I'll be asking.
There's 60,000 people in here. How is there only 600 fucking... Oh, this is bad on God. Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
On God. Do all of you guys see it? I can't see it on mobile. Ha! Great. On God, we can all see it? Oh, it's very cooked. I didn't think it was this bad. Yo, we are cooked. Wow. Oh my God, that's horrible. That's literally like 900 total.
Regardless of context, an interviewer who isn't comfortable with asking confrontational or tough questions picked the wrong job. I mean, most people in the media today don't. And also, the problem wasn't that he didn't ask tough questions. The problem was he didn't hyper-obsess on fucking Israel-Palestine.
Oh yeah, we're cooked. It's bugged in America. We have 61,000 people, and you're telling me right now we couldn't get 1,000 people to vote in a poll? Something's off. We're fucked. This is bad. This is literally doomsday.
Uh-oh.
We're cooked. We're fucking absolutely cooked. Damn. Well.
Rip.